She was considered one of the greatest primatologists and scientists of the world. Her passion, determination, and devotion to her cause was unlike any other. Her attachment to mistakenly violent creatures is unsurpassable. Without her dedication and allegiance, an entire species would be wiped from the face of the earth. This is the story of Dian Fossey. Dian Fossey took a stand in history by dedicating her life to the protection and preservation of an endangered species of mountain gorilla. Her love for them was enough for her to leave the life she knew and enter the remote African wilderness where she studied them. Disobeying her parents' wishes, Fossey attended college at the University of California, Davis, and then San Jose State, where she studied occupational therapy. Once she earned her degree, she began to work in Nashville, Tennessee, specializing in the care of children. Although she enjoyed this career, she was soon drawn to the current studies of the endangered mountain gorillas of Africa. The desire to find genetic and behavioral links between gorillas and humans was growing, especially after the work of Jane Goodall had surfaced. Although she was driven by science to study the gorillas, Fossey had developed a much more urgent reason for observing them.
I started to study the gorillas because I knew they were endangered. No one really knew exactly how many were left, and so little was known about them. I felt that they had to be studied before they became extinct.
Fossey was intrigued by the work of Dr. Louis Leakey, a groundbreaking anthropologist with leading research on the gorillas. She attended his lectures and made numerous attempts to contact him until he allowed her to travel to the Virunga Mountains to assist him in his work. Saying goodbye to her patients in Tennessee and taking out massive loans to fund her trip, she flew to Africa. Upon her arrival, intense political turmoil in Africa caused Fossey to flee government authority to find safe places to land her camp. After evacuating Zaire due to violent unrest, Fossey settled in Rwanda, where she founded Karasoke Research Center in the heart of the Virunga Mountains in 1967. In a country so poverty-stricken, the people of Rwanda do what they can to get by. This often includes farming, gathering, and hunting in forested regions that are supposed to be protected. The supposed park rangers of these conserved areas consist of only about 15 unmotivated men in charge of covering over 3,000 square miles of forest. During her stay in Africa, Fossey made great advances in the world of science, observing natural behaviors of the gorillas that bashed previous misconceptions of how violent the animals were. Her diagrams, drawings, and extensive notes were extremely useful in understanding the gentle giants. Although her research made references to family structures, anatomy, similarity to humans, and reproductive properties, her main focus was behavior. Fossey was able to approach the gorillas by mimicking them. She was the first to become successful in observing them at such a close range due to her patience and respect towards the animals.
Well, I didn't believe in standing up as a threatening object, so I simply crawled around and came to imitate their peaceful vocalization, their contentment vocalizations, like this, which elicited their curiosity, and little by little, because I represented no threat.
Did they view that posture as a submissive posture on your part?
Yes, right. And the vocalization too, a peaceful one, imitating their feeding. They came to know no fear of this creature that did the same things as they did.
Despite her success in her research, Fossey's work was continually disrupted by poachers. Each day that Dian navigated through the dense rainforest, she found more and more traps laid by groups of men looking for profit. She often encounters bands of poachers camped out in the forest, and does her best to chase them away, efforts which are usually futile. The mountain gorillas are more difficult for poachers to capture because of their strong bodies and fierce defensive behavior. Because of this, a captured gorilla is a great prize, which leads to an equally great profit. Poachers dismember the head and hands of the gorilla to sell in local markets. Poachers also cut off the gorilla's ears, tongues, testicles, and small fingers, which are then brewed into a concoction designed to endow the human recipient with the virility of a silverback. Baby gorillas are also desired for capture to sell to foreign zoos. Because gorilla families are extremely close-knit, it is often necessary to kill many members of the group to even access the infant. Dian worked tremendously hard to reach justice for these animals and to find an effective way to protect them, applying for research grants from National Geographic and other wildlife conservation organizations. She acquired enough money to continue to work towards her cause in Africa. Fossey allowed photographers to join her at camp, taking pictures of the gorillas and other wildlife to raise awareness of the creatures that were being harmed. It was said that Fossey was a crazy woman because of the great lengths she would go to thwart poachers' plans. She set fires to their settlements, destroyed their traps, and even kidnapped their children to find out information about their next hunt. Despite this, Fossey's extreme efforts were no match for the poachers. Walking in the forest one day, she came across the decapitated and mutilated body of her most beloved gorilla, Digit. He was like a child to Fossey. She had watched over him and cared for him since he was an infant. Other than feeling sad and lonely without her favorite companion by her side, she also felt extremely guilty. She felt that if she would have been on better terms with the people of Rwanda, they would not have gone after Digit. She never forgave herself, which is why she was inspired to start the Digit Fund, now called the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund International. This organization raises money for anti-poaching patrols and speaks out about the cruelties that occur in unprotected areas. It also addresses concerning topics related to the gorillas, many of which she actively spoke about.
What's the chances of saving the mountain gorilla from extinction? Is it too late?
Mountain gorilla discovered in 1902 may become extinct in this century if more active conservation isn't done. The cutting of traps, the capturing of poachers, and the confinement of poachers. That's what active conservation is all about. That's where his chance lies.
The death of Digit and the progress of her research in Rwanda prompted her to publish a personal account of everything she had experienced. In 1983, Fossey published her book, Gorillas in the Mist. It became widely popular and introduced the world to the injustices of poachers. Because her story was so eye-opening, the film industry was inspired to produce a movie depicting her outstanding achievements. The film, Gorillas in the Mist, was released in 1988 and became increasingly helpful in telling her story and bringing attention to her organization. Because Fossey brought so much attention to the brutal actions of poachers and greatly decreased profits from zoos and tourism, she was not an admired person in Rwanda. Dian Fossey was found murdered in her cabin at the Karasoke Research Center in 1985. Her death still remains a mystery, but it is widely suspected that she was killed by either poachers, politicians, or business owners who were tired of her messing with their profits. Dian was buried alongside Digit, and her grave still remains a powerful site of influence and determination today. Dian Fossey took a stand in history by fighting for what she loved, despite numerous challenges along the way. Fossey's work has created an everlasting impact, and her organization is still fighting to achieve her mission. She made many difficult sacrifices throughout her life so that she could be a constant source of hope and determination for the world of science, as well as for the gorillas she held so dear to her heart. And for that, she will never be forgotten.